Okay, so today we're going to do the slope of a line, and there is a special letter that goes with the slope. Do you guys know what it is? You guys remember y equals mx plus b, right? Do you guys know which letter in that is the slope? Yeah, good. It's the m. So anytime you see an m, that's going to be the slope. Okay, and then what's the slope of a line? It's how steep the line is. Okay, so if you have a large number, it's really steep. And then as you start to get into fractions, it's going to be less steep. Okay, sometimes you'll also hear the slope described as the rise over the run. Is that something you guys have heard before? The rise over the run? For me, the rise always made the most sense because when you're rising, you're going up and down. Okay, the run, I think of literally running, right? If you're running, you want to run on a flat surface because that's easier. So the run is when you're going left or right. Okay, and then the rise is whether you're going down or up. Okay, so the rise is are you going up, are you going down? Okay, and then the run is going to be left to right. Okay, now to find the equation of a slope, there is a formula that we use. So it's m equals, and then this is called y2, so it's a y with a little 2 below, so y2 minus y1. And that's going to be over x2 minus x1. Now, in order to use this, you have to be given your 2 points. And when you label the 2 points, you label them x1, y1. And the second point is going to be x2, y2. And we'll practice labeling them together. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is find the slope of the line from a graph. So you're going to have 2 points that are marked, and when that happens, you can do the rise over the run. Okay, and then you can always start with the point that is furthest to the left here. So if I want to calculate, I'm going to use my little units here. So I have 1 unit down. Here, that'll be easier. Okay, so I have 1 unit down, and then let's count how many units over. How many units over to this other point? 3. Okay, so this is 3. This is 1. And anytime you're doing the graph, you're going to do the rise over the run. Okay, so from here to here, did we go up or down? So to go from here to here, we went 1 unit down, and then 3 units to the left. Okay, so the rise is 1, the run is 3, but because we went down, this is going to be a negative. the way I determine if it's positive or negative, because I like just doing the 1 and the 3 here, so 1 over 3. But do you see from right to left, the arrow is going down? Okay, so if it's going down, then you have a negative slope. Okay, you can also think of it as if you're going down, it's going to be negative. If you go up, it'll be positive. If you go left, it'll be negative. If you go right, it will be positive. But those can kind of flip-flop as well. So no matter what, this is positive. So if you started with this one and you said 3 to the left and 1 up, you'd still get a negative. Okay, so negative 1/3 is how you'll write your answer. Okay, I want you guys to do that for this. So I want you guys to do the counting just like we did before. So to get from here to here, I want you guys to count there. Count over, and then let's do the rise over the run. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that, and then I'll just call on one of you. Okay, so Stacy, do you want to tell me the rise or the run? Yeah? Okay, and then Reagan, what'd you get for the bottom number? Good. Okay, and that's it. It's just 7 over 3. So this one is going up from left to right. So if it's going up from left to right, it's going to be a positive answer. Okay, so if it's going up from left to right, it's going to be a positive answer. All right, and then we're going to talk about the different types of slope. So for every single one, we're going to draw an x and a y axis. So we have y and x. Just leave a little space there so we can write a note down. Y and x. Y and x. Alright, so I already told you what a positive slope is. That is when you have a line that goes up from right to left. Or sorry, up from left to right. So start at the left. If it goes up, I always think of going up like a roller coaster hill. If it's going, the roller coaster is going up the hill, it's going to be positive. Okay, if it's negative, then it's going down the roller coaster hill. And then I'm just going to put L to R since we already said the left to right there. So it goes down from left to right. Okay, now there's two special types of lines. There's the line that has a slope of 0 and a line that's undefined. So if it has a slope of 0, it's a horizontal line. Okay, and if it's undefined, it is a vertical line. Now those two are easy to get confused, so I'm going to show you how I remember it, and you can use that to help you, or you can come up with your own. So if it's a horizontal line, I always think about how I could write 0, like the Z in 0, I could write with the horizontal line there. And if it's undefined and it's a vertical line, I can make the U from undefined with it. And that's how I remember. So I start to think about, okay, I can make the Z, I can make the U, if I'm ever questioning which is which. All right, and then the last thing we're going to do today is use that formula that I told you about at the beginning. So you're going to find the slope of the line that contains those given points, and we're going to use that formula that M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the first thing you want to do is label your points. It honestly does not matter which one you label x1 as long as y1 is with it. I always labeled the first point x1, y1 and the second one x2, y2. Every point has an x and a y. It's just these are the ones, so that's a pair. Those are the twos, so that's a pair. And now we're just going to plug this into the equation. So for y2, I have -4, so I'm going to put that in. Now in the formula, the minus goes next, and then y1 is -7. So I have -4 minus -7. Okay, now you can put it in your calculator just like that. Okay, and something special happens, and we'll talk about it when we go to calculate. So the second one, if you have x2, that's 6, and then it's minus. It's always minus because that's the formula. And then 6 minus 5. Okay, and then we're going to calculate. Now this we can do without our calculators, right? What's 6 minus 5? Close? Yes. Yeah, good. So 6 minus 5 will be 1. Now, for the top, when you have all those negatives, most of you are going to want to use your calculator. So this is minus a negative. So you have to put it in like this, minus a -7. Okay, and then you should get 3. So what happens when you have minus a negative? When you subtract something that's negative, you're really doing what? Yeah, you're adding a positive. I always say minus a negative is plus a positive, and I change it like that. So this is like doing 7 minus 4, which is 3, and then divide. Do you guys know what 3 divided by 1 is? What's 3 divided by 1? It's just 3, okay? So if it is a whole number, I want you to write it as a whole number. Don't keep it over 1 in that case. Okay, so for B, I want you guys to set up the equation, okay? And I'll give you a minute to do that. Great. Okay, so for B, 1 minus 5. And then if you guys haven't labeled these, I would. Okay, so 1 minus 5 on the top, awesome. And then Keith, what would we have on the bottom? Okay, so the bottom is x2 minus x1. So what's our x2 in this case? Nope, can you see where I labeled it? That's our x1. And then what's the second x? Yes, so it'll be 8 is what we'll start with. And then the minus will always go in the middle. And then the x1, like you already said, was 2. And now we're going to calculate. Okay, so it's perfectly fine if you use your calculator to do that part, the 1 minus 5 to get -4. Okay, 8 minus 2 will be 6. Now, what we have to do here is something we did at the beginning of the year. Do you guys know what it is? You have to reduce, okay? And so when you reduce, if there's a number that goes into both, you can reduce it. Do you guys remember the trick I showed you too? Bless you. You guys remember the trick I showed you? How you can reduce on your calculator? You can do -4 and use the ABC button over 6, and then look, -2/3. Okay, because 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. So that will be your final answer. Okay, let's do the last one together. Some of you may have already started that one. So if you are plugging in x1, y1, x2, y2, this is the first thing I would do. So instead of just labeling each one x and y, because that's confusing, but each point isn't x, y, if you have 2 points, we call this one x1, y1, and this one x2, y2. Okay, so when you're calculating the slope, how many of you already did this part? Okay, so then on the top is y2 minus y1, so 7 minus -2. Anytime you have, okay, so you have 7 minus -2, and then again, when you have that minus a negative, I would just make it plus. Right, because what's 7 plus 2 going to be? Close. 9, yep. And then on the bottom, you have -2 minus -2. And as I'm writing that down, like I'm saying this in my head. Like I'm always saying the minus there. And then what's -2 plus 2? 0. Now if you try to calculate that on your calculator, okay, what you're trying to do is divide 9 things into 0 groups. Okay, so if I have 9 things, can I divide them into 0 groups? No, at the very least, I have to have one group that has 9 things in it, right? Okay, so when that happens, these calculators will tell you it's an error because you cannot divide by 0. You can't split something up into nothing. So when that happens, okay, you should get an error on your calculator and the slope is undefined. And then, Brian, did you have a question for me? Wait a minute. Okay, so when 0 is on the bottom, your slope is undefined. Okay, if 0 was on the top, that would be a different story. So you can have nothing and divide it by 9, right? I can give everybody nothing, that's fine. But if 0's on the bottom, that's when it is undefined.